I work here at the Future Cities Catapult. A bit of my background, I started as an engineer about 15, 17 years ago. Worked for a fine organization called Arab, which Professor Wilson also worked at. I just, disclaimer, I did not build the Wobbling Bridge. So if you have any question about the bridge, you can ask Dr. Wilson. So I started as an engineer and then slowly found myself becoming an economist, and now I lead an impact assessment team here at the Future Cities Catapult. A bit about our team. We have a team of 5 people from economics background, social science background, as well as environmental economics background. And what we try to do is to help UK SMEs to understand the overall impact their proposition is going to have to the setting that they're going to install the intervention. So on the one hand, we help them sell better, and on the other hand, we help cities understand the overall impact of a proposition better so that they become an educated buyer of a system. And today I want to talk about one example where we actually did just that, help the buy side and the sell side. And more importantly, we put people at the center of the whole project. So it's a project in Brazil, Belo Horizonte. Who has been to Belo Horizonte before? A few of you. So if you have been, you will know it's actually quite a large city. The population is 2.4 million. It's the 3rd largest city in terms of population in Brazil. And a bit of a contest. So they have 300,000 people who use the downtown rapid bus transit system every day. So it's about 1/8 of the population. The problem is, in 2015, they did a survey about customer satisfaction, and 53% of them are showing very dissatisfied result. And when we dig a little deeper and look at what was bothering them, they said the top 2 reasons why they are dissatisfied with the service was, one, is long wait time. I go to the bus stop, check the bus schedule, probably still a paper-based system back in 2015. I show up at the right time, the bus never came. It's 5-10 minutes late because it's stuck upstream, right? If you've been to Brazil, some of the largest cities, you know the bus schedule is, by the time it reaches the 15th station, it's probably off by 6-7 minutes already. But more importantly, they waited at the bus station. The bus came, but it's too full. It's overcrowding. So I can't get to the first bus. And when I get onto the second bus, it's so crowded that I can't even read my newspaper or do anything pleasure. And I'll be rubbing shoulders with other passengers. So the experience on board is very unpleasant. So this project was funded by Prosperity Fund of the UK government, so FCO. Gave us money to look at how we can help to solve this situation. Specifically, how can we leverage the UK technologies that's already out there to help solve these 2 very specific problems and help sell that technologies overseas. So what we did was we, since the theme tonight is putting people first, we went out and asked people, how long do you wait on average to the bus, since you expressed the long wait time as your #1 problem? And they say, wow, 16 minutes. I had to wait, 16 minutes. Some of them said up to 16 minutes, so on and so forth. And then we had a data science team in here, in-house, and then we built an app to track how long people actually waited. And we recruited 32 volunteers, explained to them what we're trying to do, and 32 of them agreed to install it and look at how long they actually wait at the bus stop based on different algorithms and technologies. And what we found was the result of the blue line. So over different parts of the day, you wait different times. The red line is the self-reported 16 minutes, but when you actually do the maths and do the average wait and all that analysis, the average actual wait time was about 5 minutes. But psychologically, people remember the bad experience and they want to, sometimes they exaggerate, sometimes they have one bad instance out of 15 visits, and that's the one that stuck with them. So it's another important, really important insight from our side to actually deploy technology to understand the reality versus the perception. So equipped with that information, we went on to conduct a series of interviews and workshops with various stakeholders, including transit agents, users, and local businesses, and so on and so forth. And we identified different areas that are critical to something that will work. So some of them are cultural, some of them are technological, but we engage with them to find out what were the root causes and how can technology play a part of it. Because the last thing we want is just to have a technology solution and shovel it into whatever problem that they are facing. As Sam alluded earlier, we don't want to get into this trap that technology is the answer and what's the question. We want to get the question right, ask the right questions, and as a result, we conducted a series of interviews. So at the end of that engagement process, we identify 6 areas where we can make a substantial improvement, including improving the punctuality of the bus, aligned to the schedule that they're advertised, provide some type of way to shed a light on the condition and the occupancy of the vehicles. And more importantly, communicate that information back to the user so that they can make an educated decision about when to go out and what mode of transport they're going to use for that day. And then finally, we want to provide a seamless navigation inside St. Gabriel Station, which is reported to be one of the stations where wayfinding was very poor. Lots of buses converge into that single location, so the buses are stuck. So we wanted to find a way to improve that at the same time. So we engaged with 2 UK SMEs. One of them has identified in an open call saying, we have a technology that can provide some of that solutions. We're going to put Wi-Fi router in strategic points, and we're going to pick up how many signals specifically from mobile phones that will be a proxy for how many people are in the area, the footprint of the coverage. And then we can also study the people movement based on how this MAC address is moving from this site to that site. I won't get into the technical detail, but basically one of the solutions would tell you how many people are waiting at the bus stop. Great, we said, good, this really hits what we're trying to do in the previous slide. And then another SME came in and said, I also have a similar solution, but this time I'm not going to use the Wi-Fi router because you need all kinds of powering and all that. I have a simple solution where you can actually have an eye on the bus without the privacy issue and all that. I can install a Bluetooth beacon on board, and then it will pick up how many Bluetooth signals is communicating to people's mobile phones. And then you can use that as a proxy for how many people are on board as well. So now you have an eye at the station and you have an eye on the buses. And now you can communicate those information back to the user with an app and say, the next bus is going to come in 2 minutes, and our best guess is probably 72% full. So you can either decide to go out now or wait for the next bus if you prefer to be, if you want to wait for a less crowded bus. So now we achieve that and give people that information. So because we are, as I explained earlier, our team is really looking at the triple bottom line, the environmental, social, and economic benefits, so that the buyers can communicate the benefits to the seller can communicate the benefits, and the buyer can buy with confidence. So we identify some of them. I'll just pick on the social one because we're focusing on the people today. A lot of people report that one of the reasons they don't want to wait at the bus stops for too long is because of the high crime rate. When you're standing at the bus stop really late at night, you become a target for criminal activities. So if they can reduce the time that they are exposed to that environment, that will really ease their concern and make it a bit safer. And then also, because of the air condition, the longer you wait by the side of the road, the more toxin you breathe in. So there will be substantial health benefits as well, so on and so forth. So we try to quantify these as much as we can and help the city to understand whether the investment is worth it. So what we did was let's just look at the reduced wait time and what is the consequential economic benefits as a result of it. So using World Bank guidelines, we looked at the working hour, the working wage on average for the city is about 10 reals an hour based on a 1590 salary a month. And then World Bank is basically saying for the average wage, you should apply a 30% for your commute time. That's effectively how much they are taking you away from your family. From earlier today, we said, people who commute very long have higher divorce rate. So you can argue people will be willing to pay money to live closer so that they reduce that time. So using the World Bank guideline, we quantify these and we make some assumptions. And we look at different scenarios because we haven't really rolled out this pilot yet at the time. We're trying to educate Belo Horizonte, the city, to make an educated decision about whether to try this or not. So we have different scenarios, conservative, medium, and optimistic. And then the conclusion is even in the most conservative estimate, in which we assume 5% of the 300,000 people who use this BRT system every day will benefit from this pilot trial, and they can only save 20% of the time, which is converting the average wait time of 5 minutes to 4 minutes. So you save 1 minute with that additional information, which we thought was reasonable. And based on these assumptions, we said the amount of time you save in monetary terms is well over the investment that was required to test it out and see if it works. So in the end, the happy ending is the city did engage with the two SMEs, and then they tried this out in the city. So that is, I think, was a good example where we were having technology in mind. We know technology can be a solution to a very real problem, but then we didn't jump into conclusion. We tried to ask the right questions, try to find out exactly what's bothering people, and then pick the right technology to address it, so that we don't become a person with a hammer and trying to look everything as a nail, so to speak, and just shuffle the technology into the situation. So I hope you find that helpful, and if you have more questions, I bet there will be some question and answer time later today. Thank you.
Right now. Thank you very much, Henry.